John Brady, 30 seconds to introduce.
Thanks, Les Concorla. Minister, recently, after several years of asking for the costs associated with JobPath, Doras Nua and CTEC, and constantly being told that because of commercial sensitivity those figures couldn't be released, those figures were eventually given to the Public Accounts Committee. So I want to ask the Minister in relation to those costs as to whether she thinks it's value for money, and will she make a comment on the overall costs?
Minister's 2 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy. As you're aware, JobsPath is a case-managed service that provides employment counselling and advice to long-term unemployed job seekers with a view to improving their prospects of securing sustained employment. It complements the case management services already provided by the Department's own staff via our intro offices and indeed other contracted providers such as our local employment services. JobsPath operates on a payment by results basis with expenditure determined by the numbers of job seekers in respect of whom a personal progression plan is prepared and subsequently, and I think probably more importantly, the number of those who secure and sustain employment. All the set-up costs and operating costs are borne by the service providers, and the Department only incurs expenditure when a customer starts their engagement with the service, at which point the service provider may submit a claim for a registration fee. No further expenditure is incurred unless the client secures full-time employment for a sustained period of initially not less than 13 weeks, at which results in the closures of their job seekers' allowance claim. Notwithstanding the above, and to protect the interest of the State, the fees paid to the service providers are subject to a downward adjustment only based on the level of employment in the wider economy, and a discount rate was applied to all fees payable in 2017, 2018, and I actually expect probably the same level of discount will be applied in 2019. The provision of essential case-managed employment services for our long-term unemployed job seekers does, of course, cost money, regardless of how those services or whatever medium those services are provided under. The information, the total average cost for a job seeker using the service to date, Las Concorla, is €780, and this cost is well below the average cost incurred in other similar contracted services that we employ around the state. In terms of outcomes, though, the econometric evaluation of JobsPath is due to issue its first report at the end of January. Preliminary results from the evaluation indicate that the overall impact has been positive, particularly for those with the greatest duration of unemployment. The data confirms internal data published by the Department and also reflects the positive customer feedback from independent customer satisfaction research that we undertook last year. And taking together the outcomes and the lower than average cost, I'm genuinely satisfied that JobsPath is delivering value for money for the State.
Deputy Brady, 1 minute.
Well, the Minister says the low cost of operating this, and we know that €149 million has been given to the two private companies since 2015, CTEC and Doras Nua. 195,000 people have been referred over, and each one of those, an initial registration fee was paid of €311 to those two companies. So I'm not sure. I don't see that as value for money. And we know that over 15,000 people have been referred over a second time where that registration fee has been paid a second time. Again, I certainly don't see that as value for money. It's a double payment. And, you know, the results, the figures say it all. 17,100 people have been and staying in employment for 52 weeks or more. And Minister, I don't see how, having spent €149 million, you can say that is value for money. So I'll ask the question again. You know, and it's like Groundhog Day here with the Minister. You try to justify the huge expense for this, and we know that it simply is not working. So again, can you stand over that?
Minister, is
what you say it is value for money, because certainly the people out there, and I don't think so.
Minister.
I think what's interesting, Las Concorla, is that Sinn Féin know the cost of everything but the value of nothing. I'll reiterate it just for the record. The average cost to the State for the tens of thousands of people who have gone through JobsPath is €780. That's the average payment. And when you consider that, first of all, the other contracted services that we use, the average cost per person going into those is significantly higher, and never a peep out of you about that. And actually, more importantly, the average cost to the State of somebody staying on the live register, apart from the psychological, the emotional, the well-being cost to that particular individual, is in excess of €12,000. So you're genuinely asking me to have an issue with an average cost of €780 to get somebody back into full-time sustained employment rather than leave them on the live register. Is that genuinely what you're asking me? Because I'm sorry, we're going to stay at odds.
Minister, we know Torres Nuan, there is evidence there, Torres Nuan, CTEC are hounding people who find employment themselves and trying to claim credit for that so that they can get the sustainment payments. That needs to be looked at. Also the fact that when JobPat was first rolled out, it was said that to assist people to secure and sustain full-time employment or self-employment. And an interesting response I got from yourself and your department yesterday. It says some 43,851 people have commenced employment either on a full-time or part-time basis. And we know many people who are employed part-time are referred over to JobPat and are hounded to get full-time employment. As you have said time and time again, the issue of underemployment needs to be addressed. So yet we're getting responses now saying that people are ending up in part-time employment. So can you give the figures as to how many people of the 43,851 that have got some type of employment have ended up in part-time employment? Because we know there are many people out there, teachers, who, because of the nature of their contract, are not permanent. They're being hounded by Torres Nuan and CTEC and many other people who are engaged in part-time employment. So if you see people ending up in part-time employment as a success, it contradicts how and why this scheme was set up.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just remind the Deputy the Jobs Path is a case-managed service that provides unemployed people and underemployed people with advice and long-term employment assistance to help them improve their prospects of securing full-time work. That's it in a nutshell. There's no hounding. There's no harassing people after they find that full-time work in order to get some other further payment. It's as simple as it's a case-managed, individual, expert helping people who are long-term unemployment, who for over excess of 12 months haven't managed to be lucky enough to be able to find their own job. All it's doing is helping those people, and rather I'd say very successfully, helping those people find long-term full-time employment. And yes, that does include people who are underemployed, because those people who are underemployed are presenting themselves on the live register for those days that they're not working, saying they want to be working full-time. Now again, if you have a problem with that, then we're going to disagree. The reason the service was established because we had hundreds of thousands of people unemployed in this country back in 2008 and 2009. And thankfully now we have the lowest level of unemployment since 2008. It's nothing short of a miracle that the amount of people and that the recovery that this country has had for the last number of years, we got lucky insofar as that it was a jobs growth, jobs-led recovery. We got very lucky.
We have to move on.
But this employment opportunity and assistance has genuinely helped tens of thousands of people back into work, and it's no wonder that Sinn Féin have a problem with it.
Deputy, will you